Let chaos reign.
In a world where there's crime, corruption, violence, murder, rape, theft, and all forms of atrocities that plague the world in which we live in today, we are living in a state of chaos and taking more greater or extreme chaos to restore the order in which the world we live in today. Good evening, black people. This is Chaos right here, aka Garrett. I know it's a little bit later than usual, and some things I'm probably gonna do differently. Get more traction and things popular. Most likely, some things I'll try differently. But anyway, tonight. And let me check my other end because I'm going to have some monitors up. The call number for tonight's show is 717-908-1834, participant code 917-324#. What is the subject for today? As you know, this is Chaos Reign Presents. Yes, we're back. Presents. Who really killed Nicole Simpson? Now, if you follow the other channel, Zero Ends, right? Which there will be, it's on the other channel right now, and I've dove in regardless to OJ and what they call the Goldmans that was wanting $33 million of a settlement that they won back in 1996 of OJ Simpson in regards his involvement or what they label the accomplish of their son. I forgot his main name. Ronald Coleman. I don't know if that's his name. I'll double check. Let me check. I'm double checking right now. Make sure I got his name right. Let's see, what is his name? Let me fight up to keep Ron Gomez's family from. I'm gonna highlight now. I'm gonna look it up right now. Ron Goldman. Yep, I was right. Ron Goldman. Very good. Very good. Ron Goldman, right? Which you guys can find out on the other channel, but I'm not going to promote it here because y'all know what it is. Well, I could, but if you're not following Chaos Reign channel, I don't know what you're missing. That was a settlement done now 28 years ago. And since then, and I'm not sure if that ever existed in American history, because in regards to settlements and people suing for settlements of any wrongful doing, I don't remember. I don't know if it's a civil settlement. I'm not really aware of people really winning upwards to $30 or more million. And there's a book. I'm looking at the highlights of this. I didn't know there's a book on this. Nah, Norman Pardon, former manager of. Well, it might be, but anyway. Nonetheless, OJ, if you notice, and I put it on my Facebook page, that his net worth back 28 or even go as far as 29 years ago was only $15-something million in net worth. But the Goldman family was awarded $33 million. So really true, when people say that this was another scheme to get back or punish OJ for, they say, his alleged involvement or the actual person that committed the deletion of Ron and Nicole, which he was acquitted to back in 95 of the fall, I believe. Almost 29 years ago now. And a lot of people will still think and believe OJ did it. Hell, when I was young, I always heard terms OJ did. I heard some people say, yes, he did it. And I'm come to my conclusions is, why do black people especially think OJ did it? I mean, I'm not sure every black person believe it. I mean, I was a kid. I believe I was a kid at the time, or a young adult, whatever, at the time when this happened. But in my mind, I did not really see the correlation of he really do it. If I really go back 20-some years ago, with the evidence. Now, it would be more tricky to find evidence back then because when the internet was not so prevalent like how we have it now. But let's be fair and honest. The whole purpose of the trial, and they want to really put OJ behind bars or go as far as to commit or not, or to really delete him by sending him to the death penalty. I think they want to make or use OJ as an example at the end of the day. And by what we have witnessed and saw throughout the years and decades, and with the evidence, with what's his name, the famous lawyer, I'm drawing blank now. It's surprising. The famous lawyer. Here we go. Damn, it'll come back to me. It's one of them nights, guys. But at the end of the day, he was found innocent, and even today, a lot of non-black people, white people especially, still mad to this day. Hey, you got the one chick, I think her name was Kelly, Miss Kelly, the blonde head. She believes that he did it. She went and did a little stupid little segment on some other anchor or news anchor, up there expressing why OJ did it. He's the only one, and did not really go back to the trial, because how the media plays out, they want you to have amnesia for those that was born in 1994 and beyond. You will not know what happened back then, because a lot of you that were born, and one that, especially if you're born in 1994, that year, you were the last of the millennials, to be honest. So you will not know until you were almost close to adult to use the internet to really Google and look back at that case. But anybody that was born earlier, around before 1994, might more remember that day or that whole trial. And let's be honest, in the city of Los Angeles is not a nice, sweet city. It is a city, or most like a state of demons. Evil activities go around in California. Let's keep it real. Let's just keep it real. A lot of violence, a lot of corruption, especially when you deal with law enforcement, LA especially. It does have a good representation. What I'm going to play you right now is the detective by the name of, and I'll give you his name, because I'm going to pull it up right now. Cookman, that was lead detective of the case, did some naughty things that really made it easier for OJ to get acquitted. I say acquitted of all charges. There's some things he might have lost, but he was found pretty much innocent throughout the verdict because of the history of the LA Police Department. And because of this, with the help of that lawyer, and I don't know why it missed me. If anybody's calling in, if y'all know the name of the lawyer, raise your hand. Cause now I'm just drawing blank. I don't know why, but and I say his lawyer so many times, but but he helped assist because remember he did not do anything miraculously like any lawyer. Yes, he's a good lawyer. Trust me, he is an excellent lawyer. An excellent lawyer. But the evidence was clear that really truly is no way that OJ really did it. Now, if there was no corruption in LA, especially the police department, and all the evidence did line up like they said it did, this was supposed to be an easy win, an easy verdict. But because they didn't really have the sustainable evidence and the history of the LA Police Department, it was obvious. Not only that, the jury that was selected very well, it made it easier for OJ if he did do it, it would not be such an easy ride for him to get acquitted. But anyway, for no further ado, I'm going to run the tape. Because I think this is something new. This is a few months ago. And I think this will be more setting in stone why the credibility of the police department that even further assist the innocence of OJ, even to the point where, let's be honest, I don't care about this. If the glove don't fit, it must acquit. That's nonsense. If you have every other evidence, it don't matter what the glove is. We can go by all other evidence. Is that your foot? Is the blood matching? All that could be used against OJ to convict him of all charges of murder of Nicole and Ron Goldman. So no further ado, I'm going to run the tape with some commentary. We'll go with fair use, fair use. Enjoy.
Detective Furman, would you please resume the witness stand? All right, good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
You're reminded, sir, that you are still under oath. Mr. Ullman, you may proceed.
Detective Furman, was the testimony that you gave in this case completely truthful?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Have you ever falsified a police report?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Is it your intention to assert your Fifth Amendment privilege with respect to all questions that I ask you?
Yes.
I only have one other question, Your Honor.
What was that, Mr. Ullman?
Detective Furman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
That's Mr. Furman, the detective. At that time in 1995, he was asserting his Fifth Amendment, which I did not know you could do on any case of any trial, to remove your wrongful possible convictions or your misconduct of any questions that will incriminate you in regards to the case at hand. But you learn something new every day, people. And I had talks with my old man about this, and he said you could use the Fifth Amendment on any regards, which is baffling to me because I think back then you could probably get away with using the Fifth Amendment, but a lot of people will hassle you with that question, and eventually you're going to have to answer. But I guess the Fifth Amendment does still hold stands back then and maybe hold now. I don't know. I can't really give a clear answer, but I know this. If you use the Fifth Amendment constantly, so that way you don't incriminate yourself, that's actually guilt. And it proves to me that you really are not only lying, but you're hiding something. Because the whole purpose of the trial is to convict OJ Simpson of deleting his former wife and so-called, I'm not sure, lover or side dude, Mr. Ron Goldman. So, anyhow, now what you're going to listen to one of the ladies that worked for Mr. Furman, and this is something recently new, and this is all the tapes about this man's conduct under the police force. So listen carefully, fair use, and let's really begin.
The detective and the tapes.
Do you use the word nigger in describing people?
They swayed a verdict.
Not guilty of the crime of murder.
And divided our country. So, what else was on those tapes? Then, just 2 years later.
This is a horrendous crime. We have 2 people dead at the scene.
2 people brutally murdered, Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. And the main suspect, Nicole's ex-husband, football legend OJ Simpson.
Mr. Simpson, you are charged with the crime of murder. How do you plead?
Absolutely 100% not guilty.
There was a wealth of forensic evidence, from drops of blood to shoe prints to a bloody glove. Mark Furman was a detective in the investigation and would play a pivotal role at the trial.
Do you use the word nigger?
And it was a trial that from the start was clearly about race. In a city with a deep history of racial turmoil.
And you say on your oath that you have not addressed any black person as a nigger or spoken about black people as niggers in the past 10 years, Detective Furman.
That's what I'm saying, sir.
When you were watching the trial and you see this and you know what you've got on those tapes, how did you react? What were you thinking?
I just laughed. I couldn't believe it.
I just went, you've got to be kidding me. Why would he say that?
She is Laura Hart McKinney, the writer who recorded conversations with Mark Furman.
Anything out of a nigger's mouth for the first 5 or 6 sentences is a lie.
And she has remained mostly silent until now.
Why have you decided to come forward now and talk to us?
I trust you.
Does it feel good to talk about this?
Yes. It's time.
All right, Ms. McKinney, would you come forward, please?
There were bits of the puzzle that just I was unable to reveal at the time. And I was unable to be as truthful as I really wanted to be.
So she is telling her story, her truth, and for the first time, excerpts from the Furman tapes you've never heard. Vulgar.
And Weinstein, she had a little 5-foot Jew, we called her the wandering Jew. The plow wife, she had a big nose.
Sexist.
How do you arrest a violent suspect? I yell out, have a man do it!
Disturbing.
You've got to be a borderline sociopath. You've got to be violent.
Violent.
5 years ago, I would have just spun around and choked him out. I would have kept choking him out until he told me the truth. Obviously, he's lying the first 2 times he goes out, so after that, you usually get the truth. It's called the 70-second lie detector test.
And for those that's listening, I want you to pay attention to the lady when she comes up and is interviewed, the one that works for Fruchtman. She's going to reveal all the tea that she was holding for the past, since 2017, almost 22 years back, 7 years ago, mind you. And she does not hold tongues or hold back on any of her words, her remarks, or things that was said back then. She's going to give you the whole scoop of really what's going on with Mr. Fruchtman and why he was not really credible. Not only credible, but he actually, with this case alone, spelled and destroyed his demise, or actually hurt his credibility in the police force. I'm not sure if Mr. Fruchtman was ever the same again after the OJ trial, personally. I mean, I'm not sure if anybody followed through after the case when OJ won. What was the career of Mr. Furman, in regards to him as a detective in the LA Police Department? All right, let's keep going.
So, if you use that, you get a lot of laughs from a lot of policemen.
What, the 70-cent latitude?
Yeah. Like in the locker room. A bunch of policemen, like some new kid, goes, why don't you give us some lie detector test? And just everybody, a bunch of guys will laugh, old timers,
And even one tape made just months before he would testify in the OJ Simpson murder trial.
And if I go down, they lose the case.
Even before the trial started, he knew how important he was to this case.
Right. He knew exactly how important he was.
Yet he lied on the stand.
I have no idea why.
After work.
In 1985, McKinney met Mark Furman in Los Angeles, 10 years before the O.J. Simpson trial.
What's it like to be back here?
This is an odd feeling, very odd feeling.
It all began here at what was then Alice's restaurant.
I was sitting outside working on my laptop, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he was dressed in regular clothes, and he sat down across from me, and I thought, well, seems like a nice person and certainly a nice-looking man. So he started asking questions, and he said, well, what are you writing?
She told Furman she was writing about a woman cop. His response surprised her.
He just sort of stopped and said, a woman cop? And I said, yeah. He said, you're never going to find a woman cop who's a good cop. You're never going to find a competent woman cop. I think that's more accurate. And I thought, whoa.
How did the conversation unfold to where you realized, this guy could help me with what I'm working on?
Yeah, then I asked him, I said, why would you even say that? And he said, well, I work with them, and they're incompetent. They don't do this, they don't do that. They're unable to, hold a gun. They're not trustworthy. They are utterly incompetent, and they're dangerous.
Exactly what McKinney needed to write her screenplay about misogyny in the Los Angeles Police Department.
Their natural response is sweat. Sweat, hide, yell, scream, hide in the corner. That is really their natural response.
But before the recordings, there was a relationship.
First of all, we had a brief encounter.
What do you mean by brief encounter?
Well, we had a romance.
So it started out as a romance before you started doing the tape?
Yes, yeah, it did. I would say it did.
The taping began when their romantic relationship ended.
Everybody's got little names. I mean, if somebody thinks enough of you, they'll come up with some type of a name.
The nicknames that Furman gave these women are pretty harsh.
We give all the females names. Like this real ugly one, it's called Critter. And this other one, we call her Pinch Monkey. It's like in The Wizard of Oz. She's just like one of those monkeys they sent out of the castle.
Can I use all those?
Sure. Use Critter. That's good.
What were you thinking when he was saying those things?
Bingo. Bingo. I feel that.
I'm hoping y'all guys are able to hear the stream. Let me know. I'm looking at the chat room. Make sure it sounds clear enough. The police took a vial of OJ's blood at the start of the investigation. Some of the blood ended up missing, and the police couldn't explain it. Oh, really? Ain't that something? Thank you, for the one. That's something that was never talked about. Ain't that something? Because usually when normally they take evidence, but first for it to evidence, they always check a person. That means they get any samples from the person that was the actual criminal in this. And blood is one of the things they do take, besides hair samples, other things. And that's something I did not know about. I'm going to read that comment again that was left by 4.1. The police took a vial of OJ's blood at the start of the investigation. Some of the blood ended up missing, and the police couldn't explain what happened. Let's keep playing. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I like about people that knows more about this than me. Let's listen more, please.
Often when I'm working on it, there'll be a bingo moment, or I'll get chills. And when I get chills, I can help somebody else get chills.
But Laura Hart McKinney would get much more than chills and a dramatic screenplay.
You got to be able to shoot people, beat people beyond recognition, and go home and hug your little kids. You don't pack those qualities.
Her 12 tapes would become a racial powder keg.
The defense will question screenwriter Laura Hart McKinney about interviews she taped with Furman,
exposing alleged hatred.
Being a Nazi's not too popular, but I guarantee every Hitler's birthday there's a celebration behind closed doors.
Impacting the trial of the century.
You use the word nigger.
The defense says those tapes will show Furman is a liar and a racist who was capable of planting the bloody glove
and revealing a secret sexist society inside the LAPD. When we come back, On the Beat with Mark Furman.
He threatened me, and he said, I'll take you and any other females that you want to bring, and I'll choke you all out in a minute.
Making it in Hollywood was screenwriter Laura Hart McKinney's dream. And she knew exactly what her movie should be about.
So your goal was to write a screenplay about sexism within the LAPD. Why?
I hate it when people are cruel to each other. And thought, it's got to be happening not just here, it's got to be happening around the country.
And it was sure happening in LA in the 1980s. With resentment and retaliation against a campaign to recruit more women and minorities to the LAPD.
I could tell that there was a story there. I didn't know what the story was, but I was determined to deal with it.
And her man on the inside, Officer Mark Furman, had plenty to say on the subject.
The worst male officer has that adrenaline, that ability to attack. Not that women don't, but they're very uncomfortable with it. Their natural response is sweat. split, hide, yell, scream, hide in the corner. That is really their natural response, and I don't think that's a slam to women. I mean, considering, that I don't think we've evolved a hell of a lot in 30,000 years. We're supposed to go out and get the meat, they're supposed to chew the leather.
Furman clearly had no respect for women cops.
Guys got a lot of time on the street. Now they're studying. They didn't want.
And what has been known and what has been laid out, that one of the dangers, and mind you, we live in a society that's still patriarchal, but, mixed with some feminists, some gynocentric, some, all these unique buzz terms, these cartoon labels. There are certain men that's in certain positions, like Mr. Furman, which he's a detective, and he probably has a high ranking in that department, that he feels a certain way of female cops. Now, many reasons why he feels this way, because he could be a masculine man, or he could be just one of those real type of chauvinistic type of characters that, let's be honest, he might sound sexist, but that turns a lot of ladies on. Let's keep real. To find one of these type of gentlemen, a non-black gentleman, that will sit there, say such lewd behavior, and find you as some lesser than, that turns the juices of a lot of ladies, whether you are a cop or not, they find that attracting. So don't be fooled that you find some women say that and expose Furman of his sexist, womanish hating ways, that is a bad thing. No, they get turned on. Don't be fooled, gentlemen. Don't be fooled. Let's listen more. And I'm hoping y'all guys listen to the tape clearly, because it's as loud as I can get it. If not, you can always improve the volume, like turn up your mics and etc. Let's keep listening. Berries.
Be detectives, but now they see the writing on the wall. Either they get off the street or they're going to have some split tail for a partner.
A split tail for a partner. Did you even realize at the time that was such a vulgar name for a woman?
No, I didn't even know what a split tail was. I thought, okay, I really need to step up my game here. I really need to work hard with these women at the police academy, shadowing them so that I'm clear and I represent their voices.
We were trained with this gun and how to load it.
Voices like Tia Morris.
With every rank on the department up through captain.
In 1983, she was new to the force and ready to protect and serve in West LA. At roll call, rookie officers like Morris sat up front.
The tenured officers like Furman, he and a lot of the other older officers would sit in the back and they'd throw paper at us or pencils, or they'd make, loud and vulgar comments if the watch commander read our name, and they'd say, oh, she's a pig, and things like that.
Nobody stood up and said, hey, this is wrong. Come on, back down. When you found out you had to work the beat with him, what was your reaction? What were you thinking?
I was scared. I was scared only because of him standing up in front of all of our peers and in front of the watch commander and other supervisors, and he flat out said, I do not want to work with Morris. From the moment he stepped out of roll call, he was angry.
How did he treat you that night?
The whole night, he threatened me, and he basically challenged me to fight. And he said, I'll take you and any other females that you want to bring up to the academy, and I'll choke you all out in a minute. He said, because you're not even strong. You can't handle a man.
Then, Morris says, came a high-priority call, burglary in progress.
He wouldn't get out of the car, and so I'd have to approach the scene by myself.
So he made you get out at the scene, and he didn't back you up. He wasn't going to help you.
Oh, no. He sat in the car. He shined his light and just sat there. He didn't get out.
It's like a man and wife relationship, When it comes down to somebody's got to make a decision, it's the man. And that's the way it is in the car.
What if somebody would have come towards you?
Oh, he'd have been happy. He'd have been happy, because then he could have allowed me to get hurt, and that would have been right up his alley.
Morris says she was so scared she didn't even finish her shift that night. But Furman wasn't the only one with this attitude toward women. There was a covert club. They called themselves MAW, Men Against Women, meeting here at Stoner Park in the dead of night.
So when he first told you about Men Against Women, MAW, what was your reaction?
I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I said, you guys actually go to the park after work and just drink beer and denigrate women. And he said, yeah, that's what we do.
Standing around in a dark parking lot at a baseball diamond, drinking beer at 3:30 in the morning.
I spent time here when I was writing, thinking about what it would be like for the mall guys to be here.
Furman even described disciplining one of their own.
So Furman and the guys would hold these late-night meetings here, these tribunals, and figure out how they were going to harass other male officers that were being nice to female officers.
Who had helped them in some way, who had maybe not reported something in a report that those officers felt they should have, or had done something nice for them, had backed them up.
And I put my hood on and I'm calling a tribunal. And we get in a circle.
Coming up, tribunals and kill parties.
Just the thought of a kill party just takes your breath away.
By day, a ball field. By night, an imaginary courtroom.
For a brief intermission, I hope you guys enjoy so far this recent new tapings. Make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, Chaos Rain Show especially. And make sure to leave a comment at the end of this video as well. As you know, the story unfolds. You get me? Very much unfolds. And always leave a thought and question yourself. It was not OJ that deleted Nicole Simpson, then who did? And as you know, the title, if I didn't give the title, I'll tell you now. Who really killed Nicole Simpson? That's the question we ask. Now, I'm going to read what's in the small chat room. And it's written here by 4Do1. The defense argued that the cops plant blood evidence. The defense was able to create reasonable doubt, and that is all that is needed for a not guilty verdict. So when Furman took the fifth, that basically supports the argument raised by the defense. Furman found both bloody and gloved. Well said. Well said indeed. If you know the famous lawyer, Fordo, can you put in the chat room? I'm drawing a blank. I don't know why his name slipped me. I don't know why this lawyer slips me. But you might, if you could write in the chat room, Fordo1, I would appreciate the lawyer of OJ Simpson. Let's keep going. Fair use, fair use. Where am I? Oh, yes.
And I put my hood on and I'm calling a tribunal. And we get in a circle. Mike, you're the prosecutor. Sergeant at Arms, stand by the defendant. Okay, your charges are as follows.
Mark Furman role-playing as the, quote, Grand Dragon, leading what he describes as a tribunal.
Now it came to me. Johnny Cochran. That's the famous lawyer. Yes, that's the one. Now I remember. Now it just hit me now. All right, let's keep going. Fair use, fair use.
Calling out a fellow officer for fraternizing with a female cop.
And then I go, does anybody have any evidence to produce? Well, on 2/25, I observed the defendant not only kiss, but touch on the ass one of the female officers. He go, I did not. Silence. Sergeant at Arms silent him. I mean, it's really, it's a lot of fun, but you blow off a lot of steam. And it makes guys aware.
Seemingly makes guys aware that if they are nice to female officers, there will be consequences. That's how MAW, Men Against Women, reportedly works.
We have factions of MAO in 5 divisions.
What was a typical outcome of these mock trials, these tribunals?
Depending upon the crime committed, the Grand Dragon would determine what the ostracization would be. So it could be anything from a few days to a week to a month to whatever, that the other guys wouldn't talk with him.
However, there was, as Furman describes, a way to avoid being, quote, put on trial.
I says, publicly humiliate a female officer in front of a bunch of male officers.
Tia Morris says she had to work with the men of Ma.
So when you heard about Men Against Women and this group of guys making it their mission to intimidate and harass women, did you believe it?
I didn't. But then I really saw how serious Mark Furman was about the other men talking to the women, especially the male whites. If they came up to me and spoke or anything like that, Mark Furman would actually walk up to them and say, "What are you doing? Talk to her." And they would back away.
Men Against Women wasn't only about denigrating females. Furman, who declined our request for an on-camera interview, also told screenwriter Laura Hart McKinney that Ma held what he called kill parties, celebrations she found unimaginable.
The thought of a kill party just takes your breath away. When there was an officer-involved shooting, some officers from the Ma group would celebrate it. The thought of taking someone's life and being happy that it wasn't you, and finding a way to go, "Hey, great job. That was a hell of an evening." It's just overwhelming. It really is, the idea of a kill party.
Tribunals. Kill parties. Equally disturbing is that Mark Furman stayed on the job despite allegations of his sexism, racism.
He told me I needed to go and dance on Soul Train.
And internal investigations. In 1985, 10 years before the OJ Simpson trial, Tia Morris testified before an administrative board about the behavior of Mark Furman and other officers.
It happened because of the lieutenant that noticed that the issues were spilling over to another watch, and he talked to us then, and he told us what he had observed and what he had been hearing about the Men Against Women and WASP, the White Anglo-Saxon Police. He did specify that he knew that it was stemming from Furman, and he told us that he was going to start an investigation, and he did.
Furman and others were not formally punished, but Furman's reputation took a hit.
So then Mark Furman comes up for promotion, and you look him in the eye and say
no.
Bernard Parks was an LAPD deputy chief when Furman came up for promotion.
A person's background had to be as sterling as possible. I made a point to always take a moment and look at somebody's background and not give them an opportunity to put the department in a bad light.
So you knew he would put the department in a bad light?
My view was you didn't want to take the chance.
1 year after Furman was passed over for a promotion, Parks had to set up another task force.
We set up the task force because in the early 90s, almost the same things were happening at West LA that were happening in the 80s. And that you heard these rumors about women being mistreated and women not being given an opportunity.
So it seemed Mr. Furman was trying to get a promotion and looking for a promotion, but because of the background and his conduct, the people that were in charge, especially the gentleman you heard talking, had to decline, give him not only a raise, but a promotion. So it lets me know that if you're a cop and you're doing these type of behaviors, and they know what's going on, the only thing that's in your future is you're going to stay where you're at, and not only going to stay where you're at, you might not even get a boost of increase of pay, but you're not projecting. You're stagnant. And I think Furman, because he thinks he is a cop and he is a Caucasian cop or a Caucasian detective, in his mind he feels he deserves more for doing criminal acts behind closed doors. But the men that's more in those circles says otherwise. So I mean, if it says otherwise, that tells me you're not cleaning up the LA Police Department when it comes to detectives and police altogether. You see the misconduct that's going around there, and you still allow it. what that says. I'm just saying. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep listening. I hope you guys like the stream so far. Praise.
Member of that task force, Tia Morris.
It was amazing to me because, for one, I'm sitting there thinking, here I went through this in the 80s, and after reading some of these reports, I'm saying the department knew about a lot of this stuff. They knew about how he was, and nobody did anything.
So being on this task force, you were privy to internal reports, and Mark Fuhrman was mentioned in a number of these.
Yes. We were privy to all of his past investigations and a stress claim that he filed where he talked about how he hated blacks and Hispanics and women. And he was blaming the department for his stress because of those issues that he had.
This time, the investigation resulted in officers being reassigned, including Mark Fuhrman. A fateful move with consequences that no one could have imagined. Coming up, Mark Fuhrman's behavior would no longer be just an internal problem.
Gonna try to find the bruise on a nigger? Pretty tough, huh?
The whole world would watch him implode. By 1995, Laura Hart McKinney had settled down with her family in suburban North Carolina. But back in L.A., her old friend Mark Fuhrman was on the stand.
And you say on your oath that you have not addressed any black person as a nigger or spoken about black people as niggers in the past 10 years, Detective Fuhrman.
That's what I'm saying, sir.
As F. Lee Bailey was grilling Fuhrman, nobody in that courtroom knew about Laura Hart McKinney's tapes, except for her and a few close allies. Then came the one phone call that changed everything.
I picked up the phone. He said, may I speak with Laura Hart McKinney? I said, this is she, but I didn't recognize the voice. And then he said, this is Pat McKenna.
McKenna was a private investigator working for OJ Simpson's lawyers, assigned to find anything that would support the defense's strategy, that Mark Fuhrman was a racist who planted evidence.
He asked me if I was writing a story, and if in that story I had research tapes, and if on those research tapes that I had taped Mark Fuhrman.
And your thought was?
I just froze and said yes. And then we left town immediately, because I had no idea what to do.
Including what to do about some unexpected advice.
Who suggested that you destroy the tapes?
A judge who was an acquaintance of mine in L.A.
Wow, did that surprise you?
Yes.
So did she want to protect Mark Fuhrman?
I'm thinking that she wanted to protect the integrity of the trial.
What did you say to her?
I was flummoxed. Why?
Did she see the writing on the wall? Was she afraid that potentially a murderer could walk free because of what these tapes represented?
She didn't know what was on the tapes, but her point was, when I said, well, the tapes are confidential, and she said, it's a murder trial, nothing is confidential, and if the defense were to find out about these tapes, they would subpoena you and your tapes, and your life would change forever.
And that's exactly what happened. When McKinney refused to hand over the tapes, Simpson's lawyers came to North Carolina and took her to court.
And Mark Fuhrman's still a friend of yours, isn't that correct?
He's a business partner. I have a business relationship with him.
And you're still trying to market this particular play or screenplay?
My agent has my work. I was completely unprepared to be in a courtroom. I was extremely nervous.
This material is collateral, and I will deny the subpoena.
What is your reaction?
I think it's an outrageous ruling, and we're going to appeal. I mean, you heard the evidence in there. This is bombshell evidence, and it's absolutely critical. It's relevant. It's germane. It's material.
You won. You didn't have to give up the tapes.
Yes. I was very pleased that we won and thought, okay, that's the end of it. Great.
And then you lost on appeal.
Right.
And then you thought?
Well, I thought I'm going to have to send the tapes
So did Mark Furman call you and say, Laura, please don't give up those tapes?
He requested that I not give up the tapes.
What did you tell him, Laura?
No, that I had to give them up.
Did you feel a need to protect him?
No. He's very capable of protecting himself.
As for McKinney, she could no longer
Damn. My God. What a cool bitch. She is so cold. I love it. And gentlemen, this should be a learning lesson. When we deal with women. As sweet, as innocent, and maybe sometimes so lovely looking. Some might be even so slim and nice looking. Don't around with them. And, there's other streams right now talking about it, but, I want to focus on what I'm doing right now. But nonetheless, she had no feelings. And why should she? She should have no loyalty to you. Maybe you might give her some D once in a while, but that's pretty much it. She has no loyalty. You're not even her husband. So she's not going to really protect you. And mind you, at that time, she had to give up the tapes because it is the law. In a very serious, not only investigation, but a trial that was going to put this man either the death penalty or 20 to life, most likely. And trust me, they will throw the whole book on OJ if he was found guilty. Now, someone wrote in the chat room, 401 writes, Johnny Cochran, I know, like I said earlier, was the lead attorney on the case. Other lawyers included Carl Douglas, Barry Schicks, F. Lee Bailey, Robert Kardashian, and Alan Druschovics Skelchik introduced missing blood topics. Interesting indeed. Very interesting, And no matter what he tried to plead with her and tell her, please, Kenzie, don't give these tapes. This not only could damage my reputation, but it could cost me my effing job. Hell, I was trying to get a promotion, and I can't get because this fucking nigger. Oh, God. Why the hell I gotta use the N-word? Why are you recording me? What do you expect, Mr. Furman? Do you trust all the ladies that you work with? Hell, do you even trust your wife, if you're married, which most of them are? Try to go left with your close acquaintance. See what happens. Matter of fact, since we're talking about women that is exposing people, and I'm not sure I said this on the air, but I'll say now. Wasn't this the same thing with Fresh CEO Walter got exposed by his future baby mama? Y'all remember that? She came up with tapes, audio recorders of the conversation they had, which in the state of Florida is illegal, and she could be facing criminal charges, but really, truly, that's nothing compared if she is carrying this man's baby. The last year, your concern is you're going to be paying 18 years of child support. But that's far beyond the point of the stream. The premise what I'm bringing is, and there's many other things I could bring up. There's a lot. I think one time, one woman, some porn chick named Mariah Mills, tried to put out text message of Zion Williams, him and her having intercourse, and she gained, allegedly, she was pregnant, which I'm not sure what happened to the pregnancy. Last time I checked. That went far left. I don't see a baby bump from that chick, personally. I still see her walk around with a fake BBL, still cursing and condoning Zion. But what do you expect? You're an old bitch in the game with a BBL. About to be 33 in October. And you're looking for a young dude, a mostly up-and-coming athlete, most likely, because that's who you try to qualify yourself as. But you're not here looking for some sugar daddy, some non-black man to wife you up. Oh, I forgot. Non-white men are not in the business to marry up so-called non-whites like Mariah Mills that got fake butts. You don't make good wives. You're cost benefit. You're expensive. All you do is go around city to city getting piped down. But anyway, I'm not going to diverse to the topic at hand. The point is this. All women have evidence on you, gentlemen. Go far left and they will expose your black ass. Or expose your ass as a man. Let's continue, fairies. Let's continue.
Protect the tapes or her privacy.
So who told Pat McKenna you had these tapes?
That I don't know. That person has never been revealed to me.
Still a mystery.
Still a mystery. I don't know.
So to this day, you don't know who gave you up, basically,
no,
to the defense?
No, I don't know who called.
Did you stop and think about what you should next do?
Coming up, OJ Simpson charged with murder. And Mark Furman still taping.
Prosecuting racism is so far removed from this.
More from the infamous tapes you've never heard.
White man made him everything, and now he's blaming the white man for what he's become.
Good afternoon, Ms. McKinney.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cochran.
Over the 10-year period that we've been...
Johnny Cochran had everything he wanted. Laura Hart McKinney, her tapes, and recordings of Mark Furman saying the N-word.
And in the course of your preparation of your testimony here today, can you tell the jury how many times you counted that he used that word?
Approximately 42.
42 times?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, 77. Leave that old station, man. It's got the smell of niggers that have been beaten and killed in there for years.
How did you stomach listening to that over and over again?
Those comments that he used made me feel repulsed, but also it lit a fire under me. It's despicable. The fact that he can think about that and talk like that makes me think it's happening. And so I have to find a way to reflect that.
So it just empowered you.
It just pissed me off.
And it made her a crucial player in the trial of the century. She could have profited handsomely from those tapes, but she didn't.
I would never do that. I would never have sold the tapes.
Is it true you were offered $250,000 for them?
I was.
So then why didn't you sell them?
No one, from me, talking about me, should be profiting from this tragedy that people have to live with every day of their life.
McKinney, what is your occupation?
But McKinney was still thrust into the spotlight, and that meant anxiety and fear.
I remember you got a lot of death threats. A lot of people were angry with you. They didn't understand why these tapes had to come about.
Right.
Did you feel safe during all of that?
No, I was extremely scared.
In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson.
The verdict didn't make her feel any safer.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section...
What was your reaction to the verdict when OJ Simpson was found not guilty?
I didn't go out of the house for a while.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
There was the reality that maybe the tapes had something to do with the jury's verdict, and because of that, I would be persona non grata in many people's eyes.
Mark Furman was certainly persona non grata, exposed as a liar and forced to go silent.
Detective Furman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
But his silence would not protect him. His voice on those tapes could not be erased. Excerpts you are now hearing for the very first time.
You got to be a borderline sociopath. You got to be violent. You have to walk away from blood and go to dinner. You got to be a beat people beyond recognition and go home and hug your little kids. You don't pack those qualities. Because almost no women do, and if they do, they're either so ugly, or they're lesbians, or they're so dykeish that they're not women anymore. They're like caught in between. It's like half in a door and half out. You know, they're like caught between dimensions. There's just no way to do it all.
Stories of alleged sexism, racism, and police brutality.
So another pause into that, and it look like I see a lot of people in the call lines. Hope you guys want to chime in on this. We got like another 10 minutes of this. This was released 3 months ago in February, of the tapes that really might have played into the innocent verdict of OJ Simpson by his once former police officer, Miss Christian, I think her name. I forgot her name. I'll find her name again so let y'all know. But Mr. Furman's tapes of his racism, his deliberate misogynist, which is not a problem nowadays. Kind of a lot of women like misogynist, man. Let's keep it real. And other things that lead to OJ's innocence. Now let me go back in the other side to look at the Hold on. Where is it? All right. We're going to read another comment written here. After the OJ trials, Mark Furman's life changed dramatically. Because he lied under oath, he was convicted of perjury and lost his job as a police officer. Well said. And he should have lost his job a long time ago. But because things caught up to him, it was the best move or the best revenge any person that was ever convicted or whoever was locked up by Mr. Furman, Mark Furman, was well deserved. All right, let's keep going. Fair use, fair use.
Kinney's tapes would impact more than just the O.J. Simpson trial. They would impugn the integrity of the LAPD.
When you heard those tape recordings for the first time, what did you think?
It was a belly punch at the wrong time, and you go, how could this have happened to us? You know, how did we even let him stay on the job?
Bayan Lewis was an LAPD assistant chief when a task force investigated everything Furman said on those tapes.
Why had he been allowed to behave the way he did for so long and not be held accountable?
Because the command staff that was in charge of him did not do the job that they should have done, which is to deal with the issue in a strong manner. So it was kind of just shunted off to the side. Boys will be boys. We needed to tell the organization that if you even claim to be engaged in this kind of behavior, we will investigate it and let chips fall where they may. And secondly, if there was criminal behavior and it was within statute, then we would take it to the district attorney and we could file on it.
In 1997, the task force released this report, keeping secret portions of the tapes, excerpts not played in court and never made public until now. This is the confidential personnel version of that report. It reveals more of Furman's disturbing recordings. Quote, grabbed her by the hair and stuck a gun to her head, held her like this, threw the bitch down the stairs. And quote, I'd pick up 3 or 4 gang members, bring them to the station, take one in the basement, and just beat the dog shit out of them.
Hundreds of...
Oh my God! Damn, Mark was a savage as a detective back in the day. Damn, that's how people get down in LA Police Department? I mean, I know it happens in all other police departments around the country, but damn, that's some savage ass ish. Man said put the gun in her head, throw them on a flight of stairs. What the hell? God damn, this is some Can y'all guys believe this? Now, y'all know chaos reign. I rarely play clips of this and talk about. Really, this is really much a necessary conversation, but this can be uncomfortable to the virgin ears of people. But this ain't no joke. This is some serious brutality in the line of law enforcement, if you think about it. All right, let me keep going.
Interviews were conducted, and nearly 250,000 documents were reviewed.
In the end, the task force confirmed 12 of 29 events described by Furman, but concluded he embellished a lot, that just about everything he told McKinney was bigger, bloodier, and more violent than the actual events, with one exception: men against women.
Did you ever at any point feel like, I need to report what he's saying? This is dangerous.
No, I didn't. I really believe that if I could tell this story in a way that was honest and fair, with a strong narrative, that I could help inform people.
Furman's words would inspire McKinney's writing for decades.
Mark Furman told you that personally he felt trapped. What did he mean by that?
He was trying to articulate the depth of his soul. There was something with his own identity that was connected to being a police officer, and so much of it was being besmirched by having to work with women. That if he'd been in a different time in history, he would have been more appreciated, more respected, more openly respected by some people.
Next, Furman worries more about the movie than the murder.
They're going to say that I tied the gloves to be able to peddle this. Yeah. Which is absolutely psycho.
And whatever happened to McKinney's screenplay? It was 1994. Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown were dead, and her ex-husband, OJ Simpson, was charged with the murders.
So a month and a half after the murders, Furman tells you this.
My ass is on the line because if the media gets a hold of this, although we can say, well, we've been negotiating for years, months, whatever, they're going to say that I tied the gloves to be able to peddle this. Which is absolutely psycho.
Mark Furman was still getting together with you and recording these tapes after the murders had happened. Did you find that odd at all, that he was okay being recorded talking about this?
No, because he liked to talk about his thoughts and his feelings.
Stunning to hear now, but not really surprising when looking back on a man known to be cocky.
Do you use the word nigger?
Who lied on the stand.
No, sir.
The court finds the defendant guilty based on his plea of no contest.
And pled no contest to perjury. But in his 1997 book, Murder in Brentwood, Furman apologized, writing, "In my heart, I always knew it was wrong, even if I said them only to create a fictional story. My first failure was the lure of greed, and the second was my lack of compassion."
I'm not a racist.
Furman also went on an apology tour, visiting Diane Sawyer, Oprah, and Larry King.
I thought I knew better, being a policeman, how to make the most controversial, outrageous.
Can you imagine this bullish? After he lost, he go on Oprah, of all people. I'm shocked. Oh, yes, Oprah is Big Mama. She will protect your racist ass, Mr. Mark Furman. Oh, yes, Oprah will do that. Hell, you look at her track record, she has simplicity of saving non-black folks, white men especially, and some white women, but especially white men. When they're in trouble, they go to Big Mama Oprah Winfrey, she turned 70 this year, which passed already, if you notice. So Keep that in mind. Let's keep listening. Fair use, fair use. And that tells you right there that Oprah is a tool to really help and give the salvation to white folks. It's proven evident now. Let's continue.
Violent, controversially crammed police show that we could make, and I was wrong. I didn't know what I was doing.
One thing Furman has said is, at times maybe I got a little carried away talking to Laura. I don't know if you've heard that before, but what's your reaction to that?
He said those things, so he believed them, but I don't think he got carried away. I really don't. I think he was being truthful.
Today, no longer a screenplay consultant or a cop, Furman, who declined to be interviewed for this program, is an author.
It's not profiling to look for a suspect that's
and TV crime analyst. As for Laura Hart McKinney,
screenwriting is such an emotional journey. We have to be willing to be vulnerable.
She teaches screenwriting at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts.
Pitching some stories.
And that screenplay she developed with Mark Furman's help, it never became a movie.
Missouri scum, who should not be allowed in our venerable policemen against policewomen brotherhood.
It became a book.
Because he violated all of our principles by talking to a female officer, touching a female officer, and he glanced at the notepad and pounded his heart. Oh God, kissing one female officer on duty in uniform and embarrassing us all.
It's fiction, and the title, the same as Furman's real-life secret society, Men Against Women.
Was completing this book therapeutic for you after all these decades?
Yes.
Publishing the book was therapeutic, but disclosing the tapes?
Either they get off the street or they have some split tail.
Still painful.
For more than 20 years, you were the woman with the tapes that changed the face of this trial. What has that been like for you?
It hasn't been good, I will say. That part hasn't been good. I felt that ashamed would be wrong, but I have felt bad that the revelation of the tapes could have actually had something to do with the verdict.
James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of penal code.
Could have actually helped to make a guilty man go free.
Is this your verdict? So say you won, so say you off?
But those tapes...
We give all the females names. Like this real ugly one, it's called Critter.
...have also done exactly what McKinney started out to do.
Chief Willie Williams proposed sweeping changes in how his department handles sexual harassment.
It doesn't happen under my watch, period.
Are you glad that Laura recorded Mark Furman?
Absolutely. You know, it was horrible for us because it had a huge impact on the OJ Simpson trial. And it made us look absolutely horrible within our minority community.
Down on your knees!
They said, look, we've been saying all along that you use the N-word, that you lie. And it took years after this to deal with it.
And I put my hood on and I'm calling a tribunal. And we get in a circle.
We will be doing a reorganization of the department, and it will serve the best interest of the duties of this department and the citizens of Los Angeles.
Are you glad Laura recorded Mark Furman?
I'm very pleased. Most things that hard lessons are things that thrust upon you when you don't ask for them and you have to react to them. And I think everybody's better for it.
You ever try to find a bruise on a nigger? Pretty tough, huh?
I think those tapes spoke volumes. The revelation was priceless.
Decades later, are you glad you didn't destroy those tapes?
Yes.
Why?
I have 3 sons. I would have a very hard time today sitting here thinking of my sons and telling them that I destroyed something that I was proud that I had done.
We haven't had a tribunal in 5 months.
Why would he want to keep talking to you for so many years? Did he ever say why?
He wanted to be infamous.
That's what he said.
He said that, right.
But infamous is very different from famous.
He said, no, I want to be infamous.
Well, he became infamous.
He did.
All right. I guess that's it of the tape. You heard it for yourself. I'm going to go back in the chat room right now. Somebody wrote something. Let's see what they wrote. Where is it? One person wrote, so who deleted Nicole and Ron? Anyone? Well, the real answer is, why did the LA Police Department, since they kind of not only try to pin it on OJ, we should ask them who really was the real culprit that took out Nicole and Ron Goldman. That should be the better question we should be asking ourselves. Because it was clearly evident it was not OJ. So my question now that we heard the actual tapes from Mr. Furman tampering with the evidence and et cetera, who really was the one that took out Nicole Simpson and Ron Goldman? Well, right now, I'm going to open the lines up. I see one person raise a hand. I'm hoping more people raise their hand. Let's have this conversation. The call number for tonight's show is 717-908-1834. Access code 917-324-pound. Today's subject is titled Chaos Reign Presents. Who really deleted or killed Nicole Simpson? First line, I open up. All right. Anonymous, or who's this that I'm talking to on the line?
What's going on, Gary?
How you doing? This is Big.
All right, welcome back, man. Welcome back, brother. I'm glad you got the lights back on over here on a Sunday. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
So let's jump right on it. I'm going to come from two different angles, right? So, number one, let's break this down.
Jay.
Yeah.
Jay, before you answer, was you born during that time when month of June of 1994 when OJ made his miraculous escape to avoid the LA?
I was well and alive and aware, and I was in Miami, Florida, watching when he was driving when his boy I think EC or whatever was driving him on that infamous Bronco. So that was that. I was well aware of all that. I seen everything.
Was you a teenager? Was you a teenager?
I was a kid. I was a kid. I was like teens coming into my teens. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Add on to the conversation. Go ahead.
So I mean, I know OJ because I don't go that back. You know, everybody knows him from the football and the Heisman. I got to get introduced to OJ when he was already an announcer. And he was doing the car commercials, the Hertz rental, right? So I'm getting introduced to OJ, of course, as young in the 80s, you learning about him little by little. But for what I was introduced to him is like, this ex-football star that's now, an announcer, and he's famous doing the Hertz commercial. Like he blew up the Hertz car rental. That's one of the first car rentals that went commercial, if you want to say. Anyway, another thing was the Naked Gun. I see him in a lot of, not a lot. There was like 3 or 4 Naked Guns. He was well known in that. There was a comedy. If you ain't see it, go check that out. Naked Gun 1, 2, and 3. He was really good in it, funny. Satire, whatever the fuck, but he was funny. So that's that. Now, going into the case, it's 2 situations. So I got one angle that Mark Furman did try to tamper with evidence and try to set him up. And I think that Mark Furman was racist, and he didn't like OJ because he was a black man that was rich, and, he had a white woman at some point, right? And I believe in the past he knew the Nicole Simpson or had some encounters with them in the past, some way, somehow. So there was something there. I don't know all the details. But what I do think is this. I think he did tamper with evidence and try to set him up. But I think OJ did kill that woman. I don't think he physically killed her. I think he had assassinated. You know what I'm saying? But the way they were both murdered, they said it was like a crime of passion that he had to do it because the way they were killed, right? But for some reason, I don't know. I think that it wasn't physically him. I think he sent somebody to kill her. I could be wrong, but in the case, he was found innocent. So this is one thing that I do respect, and I do agree in a way. So Cameron said something. He said, yeah, when he came up, when his death came up, all they kept talking about was the case, and he was found innocent. But they kept talking about talking about him being a football star, this, that, the other, and then they talk about the famous case that he was found innocent. So it's weird how the media works. The media will love you, they'll hate you. They'll bring you up, they'll bring you down. They're mood swings. The media loved him, the media hated him. The media loved to hate him. I mean, it was just so weird with OJ Simpson, but he was a special person, a unique person, and he happened to be a black man. But I think he was a unique person. He was, one of a kind, and his case, this case was so big because it was a black and white thing. It was also in the height of racial issues with what just happened a couple of years prior with the Rodney King, and there was a lot of tension in Los Angeles. So, it was a lot of different dynamics. I think they try to set him up in a sense of planting evidence because they probably knew more. I mean, none of them know more than you and I, but, they couldn't get him dead to rights, so they planted shit. And I think that he was much more clever in a sense of that. I believe he didn't physically do it. I think he did send somebody to kill those people. Because too much things connect to him with his behavior in the past, with her, and, it was weird. It's just like too much shit. Domestic violence, his attitude towards shit. He had a kind of, what they say, like money and fame changes people. It changes anybody, but it changes some people for the good and for the bad. I think that OJ, once he got money, he became cocky. A lot of people say that he got away from, his black roots or whatever. I mean, that could be debatable, but I think
that's typical for a lot of people that once they reach a certain status that they had to divorce themselves away from the black community. I get it. Jay, I got two other people raising their hand.
No, I'll close it out. So again, there was no dead to right evidence. I think they set him up, and down the line, they got him through that Vegas case. I think that was like a payback. He kind of put himself in another position where he was like in a situation, and then they got him. But like I said, I don't have the evidence. I just say that, despite this Nicole situation and the shit with him trying to retrieve his memorabilia, I mean, he was a very public strong figure that people admired, and he was very famous, and a lot of people gravitated to him even after the case and all the shit that they said or that he did or didn't. So he was like a magnet to attention, and people took a liking to him. He was just a unique individual. I'll leave it there. Good show, Gary.
Thank you. Let me take next caller. And guys, raise your hand. I see Antoinette. I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to come to the other dude because I think you did raise your hand. Antoinette, you there? Antoinette? I don't know if I said it right. 302. Last number 1654. Open your line. Who's this?
Hello, Gary. Thank you very much for doing this show. It's a lot of things that I did not know, and I appreciate, you playing the tape. Because I did not realize how vicious Mark Furman was. I did know that he called niggers, but to beat that man, that was terrible. And to push the woman down the stairs that was pregnant, he was truly an awful person.
Well, you got to understand how the law enforcement works in LAPD, but not just that state, but many states, they follow suit, that interrogating and getting what they want out of people that to get either a confession to help in a possible situation in court, they do whatever is necessary, including what we call military coercion tactics. You get me? From, forcing people, pressuring people, putting gun to women's head, pulling their hair back, even to some dudes, physically hurting them a little bit, even as far as from a flight of steps. These are very much serious tactics that no human being should be inflicted with, just to make the police department look like they're solving crime. No, you're creating crime, and you're also using people from the lower sectors of the cities to make the LA police look good, but they really look bad. And a lot of minority people that live there know how the LAPD get down. This has been known heavily more in the 80s. And if you look at music like the NWO making say F the police and stuff, and when they made that song, that draw real attention to not only the police department. Well, matter of fact, let me roll back. It's not just NWA made songs. Ice-T made songs first. And people go back. Then NWO came out second in the end of the 80s. So really, they know how the LAPD get down. So the fine Mark Fuhrman was known for this, and mind you, he wanted to get a promotion and a bigger raise in his workforce, but they already know what he's been doing behind closed scenes, and they made the call say, and told him personally, you're not getting that. So the only thing you do if you can't get up in your profession, well, you stay stagnant. That means you continue to do what you do just to get the check. That's it.
Yeah.
And time it was going to catch up on him. So, but like I said, Antoinette, what happened to him now was expected. It's well served. Even to the point now with the tape that he tried to prevent for a long time. And let's be clear, guys. That's going to be very unpopular to ladies listening. Everybody has an ulterior motive when you're around them. Especially work in the workforce or even go as far as relationships. Be cautious. You get me? Back then they had they got cassette tapes. Now we got easy access to record people easier now. With not only audio but visual now. So if you do out here, keep in mind, most likely you could be recorded. Right? You consent.
Yeah, that's true.
You could be, and they need consent now. It's obviously deliberate now. It's out there now. So keep that in mind. Any other questions that's on your mind, Antoinette, in regards to
No,
something?
that's all. I just wanted to thank you, just to show my appreciation.
Okay. All right, I'm going to raise the next hand. I see somebody else raise their hand. All right. Who's this? They raised their hand.
Hey, what's up, Gary?
How you doing, Greg? What's good?
I grew up in the city of Angels. Know that? I grew up rooting for OJ, and my favorite player was OJ Simpson. But I thought he did it, to be honest. But I was kind of glad he got away with it, to be honest. I don't know the numbers, but I think a quarter of the people that were glad he got off. Even though I thought OJ did it. I still think he did it. But what's so funny? I was working in a factory, and after the verdict came down, I'm not guilty. I swear, man, 80% of the people there, white folks, did not talk to me for about a month. It was a straight side treatment, man. They would not talk to me like I had done shit myself. They were mad as hell. The white folks were pissed off. They wouldn't talk to me. And I looked at them like, what the fuck? I didn't do shit, but they were hot as hell. I still feel guilty, even to this day. But I was rooting for OJ to get off. I was happy. I bought a shirt that used to be a shirt. It was bought one, and I wore it too. The Juice's little Flower Brothers wore. I wore mine. I was glad, but I feel guilty because I think OJ did it. I think he loved her. And he told her not to take anyone. OJ was paying, OJ was paying for the condo. I don't know if you knew that. He was paying for it and told her, don't bring no dudes here. And she did. And OJ, he's probably stalking her and shit and acting crazy. And he lost it. I think he killed her. and I think he got off. But like white folks have killed brothers all over this country for 200-300 years and never went to trial. A lot of it happened in the South. A lot of white folks are killing brothers, Emmett Till, and I can go on and on, and nothing ever happened. So, the white folks had to just take an L. Like we took L's for hundreds and hundreds of years. They took an L. One of the blonde, blue-eyed white bitches took an L. Just the way it is. And I grew up in L.A. I know how police were. You don't run from them. They use it. Some use it. I don't think all the cops are corrupt in L.A., but I would say it was a good, back then, I grew up in the 70s in L.A. I would say a good 10% of them, man, were fucked up. Maybe 5 or 7% of them. I don't think it's that high. A lot of them are courteous, to be honest. I was just in LA like 2 weeks ago. Cops are, courteous. They're cool. That's all I gotta say. Great show, Jay.
All right, thank you. And I know you were in your 30s at the time, Greg, when this was going on. And one question I want to ask you, and this is my only question I'm probably ask you, Greg. From your view, do you think, not by feelings but with logic, that OJ had the capability to go and take out his former wife and so-called side dude in regards to love?
The way it was done, it was kind of passion. He basically almost chopped her head off. Now, if someone's gonna kill somebody, he's gonna shoot somebody. You're not gonna chop your head off, bro. It was a crime of passion, man. OJ found a sock with the the kid's blood on the sock, in OJ's dressing room. Come on, man. How did the sock get there? With OJ's blood, Nicole's blood, and Ronco's blood was all in the sock. That means there's a lot of blood, right? I just think OJ did it. And he got away with it. He got away with it. So it is what it is. White folks, I just want to take a fucking L. We've taken L's from their asses for years. What kind of shit? They took an L. I'll tell white folks in the middle. Yeah, I think OJ did it. Shit, I don't think it was no OJ hired some kid. No, OJ did it, man. He was stalking her. He was stalking her bitch, watching her ass in the bushes, seeing what she's doing. I don't really know what he was doing. He probably was fucking high, watching her ass, and the bitch was. He was paying for the condo that she was in, and he saw him fucking, and he's seen it, and he just lost it, man. That's where it goes, and the nigga beat it. Good for OJ. But OJ got taken in his conscience, man. His conscience was probably fucking with him too. After you do some shit like that, it's gotta be embellished in the brain, in the mind. Can't get rid of that. How you doing, Antoinette? How you doing, sweetie? You sound a lot better. All right, so I gotta say, Gary. Who you believe, Gary? Do you think he did it or not? Huh?
I already. The purpose of this stream is, if you notice the title ahead, and if you read the title, I said, who then did delete it? Nicole Simpson.
It was OJ.
Okay. Shit. All right, thank you, Greg. Let me take the next caller. And I'm thinking everybody else raised their hand. It looked like everybody's listening. Surprisingly, Howard's quiet. Everybody's quiet. Well, I'm also in the show, guys. You guys don't have another question. Anyway, someone raise their hand again. Who's this?
Yeah, you know me. I'm never quiet.
Is that Sarge?
That's right.
Okay.
And look, I'd like to say before I make my comments about this, like the purpose of my comments by saying it, I think it's a damn shame that OJ Simpson, one of the greatest running backs in the history of the National Football League, and before that, a fantastic college athlete, to say nothing of his celebrity career, is going to be always and forever primarily remembered for this murder trial and the sensational aspects and the cultural changes that it wrought in the United States. It's kind of a shame, but I guess that's just the way it is. Now, having said that, and, you know, I think we can all agree upon that, it was Johnny Cochran's job to impeach the witnesses and the evidence against O.J. Simpson. With Mark Furman, he was spectacularly successful in impeaching not only his testimony, but the evidence that he was responsible for gathering, the bloody glove found on the Simpson estate. He was spectacularly successful in doing that. And so, in other words, he was able to plant in the minds of the jurors a reasonable doubt about whether or not, well, maybe not even reasonable, but certainly a doubt that Mark Furman had planted the glove. Mark Furman was clearly a perjurer with regard to the question he was asked about the stand. So in that respect, he was sued. Now, having said that, I don't believe Mark Furman planted that glove at all. I believe he collected it properly in accordance with the procedures of the LAPD. I believe that he, in fact, is on the record as having advised Van Adder, who was the LA police supervisor and team of detectives at the Nicole Simpson residence, of their violation of procedure and evidence collection. And Van Adder ignored Furman's admonitions because Furman wasn't the lead investigator on the case. Van Adder was. And you want to hear what Furman had to say because they didn't get along all that well. But had Van Adder listened to Furman, it is more likely that the LAPD's case would have been stronger. But let me repeat again what I just said a moment ago. Johnny Cochran successfully impeached Mark Furman's testimony and the primary evidence that he collected. Now, having said that, that means that the jury is within their rights and duties to exclude Mark Furman's testimony, Mark Furman's evidence collection. You exclude it because it's now been impeached and it's not relevant to convicting O.J. Simpson. Again, having said that, I listened to that tape you played. I listened very carefully to it. And I noticed that the reason Mark Furman was involved with Laura McKinney because she was seeking a technical consultant for a Hollywood screenplay. It is clear now, based upon the subsequent investigations and everything else, that Mark Furman hugely embellished those stories he was told. Because the LAPD launched an investigation, as was said in the tape, that it was put in the tape that you played, that they launched an investigation to determine the truth or the accuracy or the facts based on what Mark Furman has said with regard to police brutality and illegal, unconstitutional actions by LAPD officers and himself. And their investigation found, remember, they want to hang him out to dry because he had cast discredit on the LAPD. They wanted to get him. He's making LAPD look really bad. So they found that out of the 29 incidents on that tape, 17 couldn't be connected to any known event. They could find no evidence of any of them. They did link 12 accounts to known events, but the investigation was inconclusive, aside from the racial epithets.
Sarge.
Yes.
Now, this video came out back in February. I just came across it, and this was something that normally when I was doing the stream, I came across this because usually when I look at things, I try to look at anything recent now that that was done through other media to look after the case, and this was put out in I think the documentary 2017, I think, but really it was released 3 months ago, right? That I'm looking at overall, listen to everything from the tapes, including the people, his top official superiors that were going to eventually give him a higher position, but they decide not to because of his conducts. So now
that's what I said.
But we're looking forward to saying, all right, if you're not getting no raise or any higher ups from detective or where you're trying to head in your department of your career as a police, worker in law enforcement, it lets me know anything else moving forward, from the tampering of evidence, which really, to me, if this guy really did do it, you know what I'm saying, all the evidence that was presented is enough, regardless of OJ tried to fight it with the assistance of Johnny Cochran. But because a lot of questionable actions were done, even to the point where I said it first in this stream alone, if it's not OJ, then who did? It lets me really conclude, because I was the boy, even now looking at this now, because OJ is dead now, and people are celebrating, mostly white people, which is fine, because obviously it's a black man screwing a white woman, a cokehead white woman, to be exact, and they said that he deleted her and her so-called side dude, and he should be doing life imprisonment or getting the death penalty. But really, at the end of the day, it didn't turn out as it seems, and a lot of people are still mad today. Now, after that, they eventually got him because, the family of Goldman put a heavy verdict in regards of $33 million, which at the time, OJ's net worth was not even $30 million. Hell, it was half of that, less than that. And that will completely bankrupt any man if someone sue you in some civil suit or whatever for that amount. So obviously, during that time, he had to sell some things, and I heard they got him because he tried to fight back for his own crap. So obviously, OJ was never going to pay. There's no way in hell he could pay it, regardless if he got any new gigs, nothing. Which really, if you be honest with you, talking about this, if you win a big judgment like that, it's hard for me to see who's going to hire you. Because last time I checked, after that, what other big gigs OJ got after that case? I'll wait.
I'm just...
Me up here, and we have this conversation that Mark Furman, that he does some good work, and he should not get the big bulk of of this investigation or put him in front of the trial of the century. But it happened, and what was laid out, the evidence laid out, he shot himself in the foot, unfortunately. And that's
what I said. Yeah, that's what I said. I said that all the evidence connected with Mark Furman, his testimony, his collection of the glove, necessarily could be excluded from consideration by the jury. I want to make that clear, because remember, the entire case against O.J. Simpson was circumstantial. All of the evidence was, so there was no direct evidence of eyewitness testimony of him committing the acts or being at the scene as a positive identification. It's all circumstantial. So the circumstantial evidence that Mark Furman collected and his testimony could be excluded. Now, it's gone. Let's take a look at it. All of Mark Furman, he's out of the picture. It is common in criminal cases to have evidence excluded, and what remains is more than sufficient to convict the suspect or the defendant. That is common. That is not at all unusual. But in this case, because it was so political and cultural, those rules no longer seem to apply. You had Mark Furman using the N-word, Mark Furman talking about tampering evidence, and all this, even though all the only evidence against Mark Furman planting evidence was Johnny Cochran and his defense team's accusation. There was never any evidence or any investigation that showed he did it. They created reasonable doubt in the jury's mind, and that was enough for the defense team of O.J. Simpson. They didn't need to prove it. All they had to do was create some doubt in the minds of the jurors, and I wish to emphasize they were successful in doing exactly that. But what was left over should have been enough to convince them. Remember the evidence that was left behind. You had at 9:36 p.m. on that night, Simpson wearing a dark sweatsuit is testified to be seen by Cato Kalin. You got the guy walking his dog who doesn't see the Bronco at Simpson's Rockingham residence anymore at 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. You got Simpson trying to call Paula Barbieri on a cell phone from his Bronco. You got 10:15 to 10:40, according to the prosecution and the defense, they agreed upon the period which the murders took place. The limo driver, Alan Park, doesn't see the Bronco at Rockingham. Remember, he was going to take Simpson to the airport, so he go to O'Hare Airfield in Chicago. Alan Park buzzed Simpson intercom. He didn't get an answer. The white or light Bronco was observed at 10:50 at the intersection of Bundy and Dorothy Drive. Cato Kalin heard the 3 thumps on the wall outside his room at 10:51. Allen Park saw a man wearing dark clothes, about 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, walk across the driveway of the Simpson residence. Simpson lied to Allen Park about answering the door or hearing the doorbell. You got the 9/11 call and the history of Simpson's violence directed at Nicole Brown. You got the hairs consistent with Simpson found on the cap at the Bundy residence. You got hairs consistent with Simpson found on Ron Goldsman's shirt. You got fiber evidence. Well, no. This dummy here doesn't know anything about the case, and she doesn't want you to know anything either.
Wait, stop. No, we're not doing it tonight. Not tonight. Not on my goddamn show. Fuck that. All right, I'm going to take next caller. Thank you, Sarge. We ain't going back and forth. I could do that another time. All right, next call. Who's this?
Hey, Gary.
What's good, man? Have you been listening to the early parts of the stream besides the title? Or your take on it?
Well, I heard what the stuff that Sarge was saying, etc. Again, the way I look at it, man, that they had no evidence on O.J. Simpson, period. That's my opinion. There was no evidence. Now, the only reason why I said that, I think one of the best books that was written about the case, the Simpson case, there's a book called The Killing Time. And this detective, he wrote in this book the scenario where he thought that took place. And he said, it's no way O.J. had the physical fortitude to kill 2 people like that. He says, number 1. He said, number 2, he said, Ron Goldman was a martial artist. And they said that there was not one scar on O.J. Simpson's face at all. And Ron Goldman's hand was swollen, like he was punching somebody. So they said that. So they were saying, so where are these scars on Mr. Simpson's face, or his body on, or his arms, his chest, where there was nothing there.
So, in other words, Joshua. And I heard this scenario that Ron Goldman was a skilled martial artist for a man that's 6'3", and OJ is a once football player. Okay, I got you. My thing is this: if there was any form of struggle, it would have been evident that Mr. Ron Goldman would got some rounds on OJ personally.
Right.
And there's no clear evidence that even when they look at the bodies, there might be some form of struggle, but it doesn't show at the other end of OJ. Which I will agree on that. But the problem with this conversation, right? Now, I'm going to read what's in the chat room in a second after I take one more call, the last call possibly.
And I want to say something.
It's this. I've looked back at this after 30 years, and I've concluded for myself as an adult now that if OJ really had the capability of doing such a thing, right? Anytime if you're able to walk through this, get away from this, there's other things that is clear for a person that could be labeled psychopathic serial killer. And it's very hard to find OJ one of them type of persons. He might be a weirdo and weird and, say some stupid stuff, but him as an actual killer, I really see that. I remember one time back in the 80s, he was going to play as the Terminator. That people go back in history. The reason why Arnold Schwarzenegger played the Terminator back in 40 years ago. Imagine that, time flies. 10 years later, we hear this case of him deleting Nicole, but 10 years back, he could have played a major role that is well famous now today. The reason why he was unable to play the Terminator, because they're going to make a black man play the robot. The reason why he didn't get the job is because he looked too nice. When he went on casting, he was too sweet and too nice to play that role. So it makes me think, anytime if a person has the intention of doing something like that, and I could be wrong, there's clear evidence of it, But we go farther, that he could be very smart and sneaky to go about it in a way where his hands is clean, which that could be another scenario. But at the end of the day, after all said and done, with the evidence, with the LAPD, and you live in California, so you know personally how they do things over there, that there's no credibility with law enforcement in LA. For them to sit there and try to pin it on OJ, it makes me think, who are they really working for? Because if this is an easy closed book case, it would be like that, but it's not. It tells me someone did it. Nicole had a drug problem that gone beyond snorting coke. She's probably dealing with people that are dangerous, that probably owe money. And let's be honest, when you have an addiction like that, it's easy for a person that's married to a millionaire to blow a couple K or more a month, especially if you have a habit. I'll let you respond.
Okay, and my point, I wasn't going to be long with this. Really, I really was, because I wish we would leave the man alone. The man is dead. Let the man rest in peace. I mean, but my point is that even with Nicole, her nails had skin under them. Now, when they did the DNA match of the skin under her nails, it wasn't OJ's skin.
Mm-hmm.
So, and guess what? It's unfortunate in that, because they didn't let that, when the case was going on, Judge Ito wouldn't allow that into the evidence. He wouldn't allow it. So I'm sitting there like, okay, and so this book called The Killing Time was something else. And the guy said, and this guy that wrote the book was a detective. He said, I don't get why they didn't let that in. He said that DNA on her nails, it did not match OJ at all. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. OJ has not one mark on him. So my point is that I just don't believe people that got their causes for OJ and why he did come on. As you know, the scenario was that he was jealous. OJ Simpson can get any woman he wants at that particular time. Mm-hmm. There's a video that just came out, Gary. With I put it. I didn't put it in the chat. I think I did put it in the chat room. It's OJ getting interviewed by two black women, and the sister asked him. She said, "So when are you going to start dating black women?" Like that. OJ started laughing. Like, wait a minute. He said, "I've dated two black women and one Latino." He said, "Nobody writes about that." He said, "Where's the cameraman with that?" So one of the black women, he did a scene with her in First and 10. Remember the series called First and 10? Well, OJ did a scene with what's her name? I think her last name is Bell, and she's black. He did a scene with her in the movie, and he had a nerve to say to the audience, "My tongue is still sore because of her." Right? So he was making a joke about it, but the point is that I was glad that he made that clear with them to say, "Look, I dated black women." That's the point. Is that he was saying, I don't dislike black women. My first wife was black. His first wife said it about him. She said, when they asked her, do you think he was capable of doing something like this? And Marguerite said, no. He was never capable of doing something like that. Mm-hmm. And then they asked her, did he ever beat you? She said, nope. She said, he never hit me. So all that was sensationalism.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joshua. I appreciate you calling me. I'm calling the stream and revealing that, because let me tell you something. I'm not gonna go into much deeping of OJ's life or the lovers that he used to have, the marriages and all that. I don't invest time, because I look at overall that this was a marked man from the start to set the example to America. Hell, even what's her name, Megyn Kelly was up here mentioning about him after he died and talked about why he should have been convicted and all stuff, and not going back to the trial and revealing what was said back 30 years ago. But it's obvious, because she's a bitch and she works with other people that have a certain mentality, even to the point, because she said she was at the time gone from school to be a lawyer, which I have to laugh about that. I'm not sure what case she saw, because all I see her as a media mogul. I don't see her doing law stuff. Same with Ebony K. Williams. And I find interesting with a lot of women that said they once were lawyers or were lawyers, what things they've done in their practice that was really stick on, personally, if I really want to dig up. I probably won't find them substantial, personally. So that's my take on it. But let me take one last call, Yasha. Thank you. You're my last call. Who's this?
Hey, Gary, I didn't know all that stuff either. I listened to some of what you played, and it was interesting. I looked up what is Mark Furman doing now. It says that
is he still alive?
Yeah, he's a forensic.
He must be in his late 70s now.
No, hold on. He, as of last year, it says he was a Fox. Fox hired him. He's been working for Fox, being the forensic expert, okay, and some other kind of.
Really?
Can you? Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's good for you. You called it, Miss Lady, because it's pretty evident what they do over Fox is very much deliberate, very intentional, very criminal, and to be honest, and it makes sense they never brought back the case because he works for these people. Imagine that, damn! Wow.
He was probably allowed to retire with a full pension from the police department, and I know he left California.
Yes.
He went to his white bread middle America, racist, white robe wearing folks, and where he celebrated, I'm sure. And yeah, you can look him up. What's Mark Furman doing now? And I agree with Yashua. I always had suspicion. I didn't really watch much of the trial. I really, I was working at the time, and I'm going to be honest. I had an interaction with OJ back in the day. OJ actually, I believe, hates black women. And I won't go into why I say that, but he really did not like black women. And he showed by his actions that he didn't. Because as soon as he got off, what did he do? And so, he went and got blonde. Mm-hmm. So, but that's his life. For whatever reason, whatever happened to him, that caused him to develop this hatred, God bless him. I just had and actually I talked with one of the attorneys on the trial after the trial was over at a party, and we had an interesting discussion. There's some real people really do not believe he did it, and that were people that were involved in the trial. It may appear that he did. I don't really know because I didn't follow it closely, and I'm not going to try and figure that out. I'm not going back to looking at if there's any kind of testimony. I'm not going to read about. I'm just not interested, to be honest. I think black women, they weren't cheering for OJ. They were glad that he got off because of Mark Furman.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much it. But people were very upset.
This is my thinking on all this. I know how we as people have a self-hatred mentality towards each other, but regardless of people's innocence, it's not the time now because who he or she decides to date that has a certain view saying we should not support. We should always give a more high claim and saying, from what has been revealed and the games we play, that we got as people stand enough to saying that this is wrong, and we're not gonna our business even demonize it in front of public to a man or any person that's black until the evidence is clear, because other groups of people don't do this, but we do it intentionally, especially if we date outside the culture or outside the race. And that's why when the case that concluded now 29 years ago, that you see a lot of black people was so happy and ecstatic because it shows that there was some justice served at the end of the day, And we should always have that thinking because we all know how the police treat black folks, and how society treats black people. And we're not going to sit there because what the media says about them that we're going to agree. Because the media, by intention, because of this racist system, in their mind, they have to demonize and make black people enemy number one. That we are the boogeyman. We're evil people, especially black men. So I'm not with it personally. So I'm kind of glad that, even talking about this now, 30 years later, it should be a learning lesson. And it should wake enough young people that were even born in 1994 and after to know this country's not just only racist, but they like to hide the history of really what goes on. It's easy now they could resurface this now that he's gone because there's no one that's going to talk about it. But we have media outlets now, Miss Lady. We have these outlets now to reprove and fight back the false propaganda, regardless of what has been said by other outlets that really want to shine an evil light to certain black people, including black men, in regards to this. So. But any other thing else before I conclude this?
Well, there was some interesting murders happening around that time, having to do with, the drug cartel, cocaine distribution, and those folks down there in L.A. like to party, as they say. They like to party. And who knows what kind of drug bill was owed, it wasn't paid. You just don't know what really went on. I'm just glad I was never caught up in that scene. I never wanted to be part of that Hollywood party scene, period. And I'm glad that I wasn't, because we see a lot of stuff that's coming out, and it doesn't lead to anything good. So, but yeah, so I just wanted to say that, but I'm not surprised that certain people support Mark Furman, people that you wouldn't think would, but they do, and they look like black, and they are black folks. They'll find a way to try and find some kind of out for him. Not surprised at all. And it's the same kind of thinking those MAGA folks have for their leader. You know what I'm saying? And it is a last thing I want to say is there's so much intersection between racism, patriarchy, hatred of women. That's a big red flag. It's extreme hatred of black people and women, even their own women. That's I don't know what to say, but it seems like a lot of those hatreds overlap each other. And that's all I got to say. Thank you for playing with me. Okay.
I appreciate it. All right, guys, that's it. I prove no shadow of doubt my end, my views. As I turn to the last section of the comment section here, that's going back and forth, and I'll read it now. And by Fordo1 writes, research serial killers, Glenn Rogers. Glenn's brother said that he believes Glenn was responsible for the deaths. He did some construction work at Nicole's condo just before the deletion, or what they call murder. And one guy writes, why did he lose in civil court? Simple. He lost because he was responsible, or not involved, but responsible of Mr. Ron Goldman or the Goldman's deletion of their son. That's why he lost civil court in upwards of $33 million, which really with interest now over now the period of 28 years gross to now $100 million, which obviously OJ never had it. I mean, you could pay, but let's keep it real. For those that's going to listen to this playback, which I will upload in many streams. His net worth was $15 million. There's no way hell he's going to pay no $33 million. Even $33 million sounds erroneous, preposterous. But it makes sense why they'll throw such a heavy number, because they want to set an example to bankrupt this man. That's my only answer. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Sir. Let's see. Nicole had called it, and even this statement here about Nicole calling police on OJ. And I'm going to agree with Joshua. If this man was such an abuser, they said is, why am I hearing no other stories after he got away? And he did have other relationships. Let's keep it clear. Why none of these women came out and said that OJ beat the hell out of him? That's my biggest question. Because as an abuser, always abuser. He did not abuse his first black wife, regardless what the ladies say that he doesn't like black women, which I'm finding very odd because if he's dating with other race of women, I'm not sure why that's hate. Hell, black women date non-black men all day, every day. You don't see most black men said that you're hate of your race. Matter of fact, today now, than back then, a lot of women, young women especially, or women that's in the mid-30s, they glorify it. They actually celebrate. They're happy when a black woman gets a non-black mate. It's like they want a trophy, a prize. So we're not getting to that. Let me keep going. OJ lost in the civil case because he's burden of proof for the prosecution in less than a criminal case. Yep, like you, 4-1. He lost though. 4-1 writes, I think the deletions were committed by several or serial killers, Glenn Rogers, who might have been hired by OJ, and OJ went to the scene of the crime after the deletions were committed. Next guy writes, OJ really did a lot for black people. Okay, that's good to know. OJ had been abusive to Nicole. Right, same guy. And then 401 writes, R&R. OJ also lost his case in Vegas, sentenced to 33 years in prison for the theft of kidnapping by a white female judge who was applied payback to OJ, even though she denied it. We know that. Next comment, should he have had a black male judge? It wouldn't make a difference. For the right, I'm not saying that. All I am pointing out is white female judge was what it called disingenuous when she said that she was not giving OJ 33 years because she believes he got away with it, which makes sense. Then next guy writes, because she was white and female, that's a question. And then writes, watch the documentary of Glenn Rogers, which we're not going to do. I don't give a crap about anybody else. All I know is that, and one more question, this is some of the most racist BS I ever heard. Well, this guy looks like he sounds like he's Caucasian. Well, thank you for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Mr. Guy that's in the chat room. But overall, OJ did not do it. So the biggest question that you ask, besides Glenn Rogers, which I don't know who that is, I still leave the question on the table, and I'm hoping in the comment section I get my answer. Then who did delete Mr. OJ? Who delete Miss Nicole Smith? Who's the one that took her out and tried to point and frame the one OJ Simpson that's no longer here, roughly 30 years ago, of June of 1994? Who really did it? Will we ever know? I would give it, most likely, if this ever comes around, I wouldn't be surprised next year someone's going to reveal who really delete Nicole and Mr. Ron Goldman. I give it a year when it marks the 30 years when OJ was acquitted. I think we'll give it another 30 years, another year at best. But what do I know, guys? Anyhow, thank y'all for listening to today's stream. Looking forward to hear y'all in the comment section of this one. Make sure to leave a like on your way in, on your way out. Subscribe to the Kids Rain Show. And, like always, it's always interesting to find when these things happen and we look back decades later to see what has the world changed in such a long period of time. But that's pretty much it. Thank y'all for listening to today's stream. Until next time, take care and good night.